Go.
Alright, I'm just going to start talking. So, hi, Mondays at the Museum viewers. We're going to go live this week. So, it's Lisa again. I'm going to talk about a couple World War II showcases, and I'm going to talk about something else that's World War II related. But today I'm going to be talking about Lyle and Mabel Russell. They are from Birmingham, Michigan. Mabel was actually from England, and they met when Lyle was serving in World War II in England. He served as a supply clerk, a driver, and a machinist. While he was in England, they met when he was serving, and then after the war they moved back. They were married on November 17th of 1945. Yeah, so that's kind of when they were married. And then when they were married, they were waiting for the Army's red tape. One application read, "Application has been made by the above named," I don't know what that word is. Okay. "For permission to marry Sergeant Lyle Russell serving in your command. May it be please confirm that Sergeant Russell is single and free to marry, and may we be informed dates of leave that Sergeant Russell would be granted. Also, if there are any more formalities to be gone through before his marriage should take place." Lyle returned home on New Year's Eve of 1945. He and Mabel were together until his passing on April 11th of 2011. Yeah. You guys probably got an overview of the showcases, but we're gonna have Mr. John Ryder, the executive director, talk about something important.
Yeah, so what Lisa read there, the little bit about the application, or the application is being made by the above named auxiliary for permission to marry Sergeant Lyle Russell. That was a letter from Mabel's command in England to Lyle's command asking for permission for the two to wed. And I thought that was super cool and just really unique. I'd never seen anything like that before. When they met after the Battle of Dunkirk, and Mabel, working for the Army Transportation Corps over there in England, she was tasked with going about getting the materials that were brought back by the various surface vessels, whether it's fishing trawlers or freighters or whatever. When the guys came back, any of the equipment that they had, they just left it on the docks and on the beaches and in warehouses. And her job was to go through that, find out what they could repurpose, and make that get it back so that to units so they could use it. That was just a really neat thing that she had done, but Lyle was doing much the same thing for the Americans at the same time as a supply sergeant. So that is a little bit with that, and he was with the 79th Ordnance Battalion.
Alright, so thank you, Mr. Ryder.
Yep.
So now we're going to go over to the display on just some of the Nazi artifacts that we have, and I'm going to explain on why it's displayed that way, because I think it's very interesting. So all of these things in these showcases were donated by just whoever wanted to donate them, I guess. But they are displayed this way mostly because we don't want it to look as if we are like praising the Nazis, and because what they did was wrong and it was horrible, and we want it to be just documented as if, you know, we just like put it in there, you know, just kind of like carelessly threw it away. So I just think it's neat kind of looking through. You can just see some of the different artifacts that we have. So yeah, and that also ties into just the whole World War II thing, just so you can see the American side, which was the German and European side of everything. Alright, so, oh, sure, you can add something in.
And so these relics and artifacts were important to the men and women that donate them to the museum. They brought them back as war trophies and war souvenirs. Stan, the gentleman who started the museum over 43 years ago now, he used to call it his imperial junk and his Nazi junk. We don't refer to it as the German or Japanese peoples because it was those parties and those ideologies that we have a problem with, not so much the German people or the Japanese people. But what we have here is over in the Nazi cabinet here, we've got a long-barreled artillery officer's Luger. And this is an item I like to show the young boys that come in who are playing their games online or on Xbox or PlayStation, and they all know all about the weapons that are in the museum. And when they start talking about the guns and asking questions about them, I like bringing them and showing them that one there. And if you take close into the handle where the fingers wrap around the grip of the handle there, you'll notice that there's 5 hash marks there. That weapon, apparently, I don't have the full history on it, but I would assume took 5 lives. Now, I don't know whether those were American lives or Canadian lives or even maybe on the Russian front, maybe Russian lives, or maybe the person who commandeered that off the battlefield and brought that back to America, maybe he was counting. But I can't imagine that what else they would be taking a look at there and counting. But I do like to bring that home and let people know that our museum, we're not about war. We're about the lives who are caught up in war. And so when people, and especially young kids, start focusing on things that are not what we center on, I like to try to bring them back and make them understand that these were lives. And like Lisa said, we make it look like everything's tossed in here. Things are taken great care. We take great care to maintain them, but when we place them in there, we make it look like they were just thrown in. And as opposed to our American servicemen and women's stories who we have and our astronauts in the back, we make sure that we show those and present those in a much different way. So thank you, Lisa.
Thank you for adding that in, because obviously I don't have a good description on certain things. So thank you all for joining me today, and make sure to tune in next week for whatever room I'm talking about next. So yeah, make sure to check out the museum, like us on Facebook, and just visit Frankenmuth in general now that things are open. So have a great rest of your Monday. Bye.